Good morning, good people of a great nation. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this discussion segment of Development Focus with Judy Ojo on ITV. Today is the second day in the second month of year 2022. So soon, we are already in the month of February, which is regarded as the month of love. And I hope you are showing love to your neighbors, to your co-workers, colleagues. Let's show love. Love makes the world a better place to live. Today, we'll be talking about, first, in this segment, we'll be talking about a community of persons with disability. I don't know how much of information you have about that community. That's a community of people with, people of about 30 million population. And you know, society just discountenanced them as if they do not matter. They do matter. And today we'll be examining the PWD's preparation for 2023 election. And I brought a juggernaut, somebody who knows the inside out of the challenges faced by the community of persons with disability. And it's no other person than the Amayanabo of Tom Brass. You can see the way he's dressed. You know, this goes beyond just you know, dressing for occasion. This is a regular outfit. Chief Jekepele. Let's get to the brass tacks.
Where I come from, there's only one Amanyawo.
Okay.
And that's
maybe this one is honorary. The one in Okobo is the
Funny enough, you can't go home with that.
yeah, anyway, you can. Anyway, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Jekepele. Jekepele is an household name. Is a Chief Executive Officer and founder of the Arbino Foundation, which is making a lot of waves. Arbino Foundation has been on for a while. It's also, you know, has branched out to taking care of interests of the larger community of persons with disability beyond people with albinism. Anyway, I will allow Jake to make all the, give us all the necessary information. So, Jake, you've been around a while, and we never knew issues with persons with albinism beyond what occasionally when they bring doctors on programs like this, and they say, oh, I have a child with albinism, and they start telling us melanin, absence, and all of that. But you brought issue of albinism to a international prominence. What was your motivation choosing this path?
Well, you'll be surprised to know that initially I wasn't interested in doing it. I didn't want to do it. I will say that, and boldly, that I was compelled by God to start the Arbino Foundation. So it's a very, not too long a story, but very interesting story and very interesting encounter. I was doing my business, doing well, living both in Nigeria and in the US. And all of a sudden, on my 45th birthday, I had a voice, and I know it's the voice of the Holy Spirit. It says, look, you know how much I've helped you. Go and help others like you. And I said, no, this is not God, and you know. But one thing led to another. An interesting thing I will never forget was when I was arguing with God, and he told me, he said, okay, in 20 days, I will take you around the world as a proof that this is what I want you to do. You know, I had a good laugh because I thought it was my mind that was talking to me. You know, many times people say, I hear from God. It's your mind that is talking to you, you know, and all that. But God speaks, you know. So when that encounter happened, I said, okay, well, I don't know. Even with a supersonic jet, I can't go around the world in 20 days, you know. But, you know, God, when he says a thing, he means it. From that day, I think the next day, I got a call from the BBC in London. And they said, oh, no, we are aware that you want to start the Arbino Foundation and all that. Can we have you on our show? So I said, well, first I thought it was 419. I mean, who am I? What is it that I've done that will merit that kind of thing? I haven't started anything. They said, no, we're calling you from Bush House, you know. Then they were both in Bush House and Regent Street. Said, look, we're calling you from the Bush House, and this is BBC. I said, okay. So we'll have you on our show. It's called Africa Have Your Say. Jennifer Horrock, I still remember vividly. Anyway, long and short of the story, on the 20th day I was on the show. I didn't know it was live, but it turned out to be a live show. And after about 30 minutes of chatting and what is albinism, how did you know that you have albinism, and when did you know that you have albinism? They opened up the line, Jide. I was getting calls from all over the world, from South Africa, from Australia, from America, from UK, you know, instantly. To be honest with you, I don't know what I said, but the outcome of that interview made me automatically a global speaker on albinism. From that place, I think less than 2-3 months, I was in Australia speaking on albinism. Less than a year, I was in the US speaking on albinism. A few months after, I was in South Africa speaking on albinism.
This particular interview was, you were in UK at that time?
Yes.
And they invited you over?
No, I was here.
Oh, okay.
I was here.
Oh, they took you live from Nigeria?
Yes, they took me live from Nigeria.
Wow.
You know, and I mean, 5 years after I started, they still brought me back to Regent House. I met facially with Jennifer Horrock, met the current DG of FRCN. People don't know my relationship with him. I met him in BBC.
That's Dr. Mansour.
Yes, you know, excellent gentleman, gentleman to the core. You know, so that's how we became friends. And then I was on...
This was which year?
This was in 2007, 2008.
Wow.
2010.
Anyway, we haven't got much time. Let's look at the Arbino Foundation is on ground. You are also a convener of
Disability Inclusion Nigeria,
and quite a number of others. Now, 2023 is around the corner. We are just about a year. So this is already February 2nd. We are looking at election February 18, 2023. How far thus far for
persons with
disability?
Well, we want to change the dynamics. It's always that, oh, give us an opportunity to vote. We're now saying, vote for us. And many people, I was in Sokoto 2 days ago, you know, and we are beginning to identify the people that we will push as candidates.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I identified one in Sokoto. I wouldn't want to mention name, and we're beginning to prop them, you know. And today I mentor a couple of them, and my forte is political leadership. So I'm teaching on how you can put together a campaign, how you can create an effective messaging, how you can build consensus, how you can begin to grow your political social capital from the grassroots. I am very grassroots oriented, you know, and that's why I'm beginning to look at the state, how I can support the SIEC. Now, for any of our community member who is listening to us, leadership is always from bottom top. It's not top bottom. It's always from, you need to grow into position. You know, you need to grow by purpose into position. And so my message to my people is, let's go, leave the House of Assembly, leave the House of Representatives, leave the Senate, you know, let's go back to the local government. Begin to vie for, because you see, nobody knows you more than your community.
Exactly.
And you can never make impact, national impact, when you don't have subnational impact, when you don't have local government impact. So we're saying, look, go to your community. Despite the fact that you have disability, they know you there. You can easily convince them and become a councillor.
Exactly.
You can even easily convince them and become a chairman
local
of
government chairperson, yeah,
and grow from there. Look at all the people you know today. Many of them, Wike was a local government chairman.
That's true.
Before he became a governor. Build your social capital, political social capital, and grow into the position. And that's my dream, and that's what I'm beginning to do. I'm interested in making sure that SIEC are inclusive so that they can administer an inclusive election. We are identifying people, many of them at the local government level. There are also people that we see that are qualified for the subnational. I am not too quick in trying to get our people into House of Rep, except if you have the political pedigree. If you have the political pedigree and you have a little money to take care of yourself, because one, we won't give you money, and two, we will not support you on the basis of your political affiliation, because we are political, But we will give you all the support, give you all the platform to express yourself in spite of the political party that you belong. So we're building blocks of progress, little by little. First, identify the right people with the right attitude, with the right qualification, with the right experience. Because the worst that can happen to us is when we give opportunity to somebody who is not qualified to occupy the position and he messes up the position.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. And of course, also looking into institutional structure, from the political party. On the 17th, we are meeting a group of political parties in Sokoto specific.
What's your interest in Sokoto? You are living. You haven't done enough in Abuja. You are already venturing to Sokoto.
Jide, I'm a grassroots person. I'm a grassroots person, but I can also tell you, in fact, what you asked me, they asked me in Sokoto on Monday.
Interesting.
Well, here's my sentiment.
Okay.
Shehu Shagari, who was like a father to me.
Wow.
Oh yes, and the first grand patron of Arbino Foundation. It was the first live grand. Yes.
Interesting.
That man was prophetic. He knew he was going to pass. 2 years before he died, he called me and said, I want to hand over to my friend. I said, who? He said, Obasanjo. He said, go and tell him to take over. So I went to Ota, and Baba said, please. So if you see our letterhead, you will see his name and all that. Yeah. Yeah. So Shagari was a impactful mentor, So I am a friend of the Sokoto
Caliphate.
The Sultan is a very dear, is like a father too, a friend, I mean, Sultan is so close that I was in Sokoto and he wasn't there.
He was in Abuja for an event yesterday.
Yes. So when I called him, he called the secretary. See how some leaders behave. He called the secretary of the council that he should call me and find out what I want and make sure
that you get it.
Yes. So I told him, no, Your Eminence, I'm not looking for anybody but you, because I want you to endorse our project. So he said, come back to Abuja, let's see.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you see, it's
you seem to Jake, you seem to have your way with very, very important personality. Just like a couple of weeks ago, we were in INEC at a CSO secondary meeting, and you reloaded the chairman for this endorsement of your campaign. How do you always get through with all of these people?
Well, I'll tell you, number one, God gives me the favor for access. Number two, I don't mess up the access.
You don't abuse your privileges.
I don't. chairman knows that I'll never call him and ask him for a contract. Or maybe employ somebody for me. I don't have that time, you know. The sultan knows that I'm not going to call him and ask him for money, or, you know. So when people know that you're not going to put them under pressure for anything, not only will they give you the access, they will keep the access. That's just it. And secondly, every time I meet them, I'm not talking about any other thing than either albinism or PWD matters.
Okay. So, in the lead up to 2019 election, INEC put together a framework for persons with disability participation, for inclusion. And one of the success stories for persons with albinism was the provision of magnifying glasses. Magnifying glasses at the polling units for persons with albinism. Also, there was provision for braille guides for persons who are visually impaired. How are you intending to build on that for subsequent elections? We have 2 off-cycle elections, we have FCT area council election, and we have 2023 elections. What are the new things that you are partnering the commission to be able to do for community of persons with disability, and especially persons with albinism?
Interestingly, I never, you know, I'll say this, Jide, because you are very philosophical. You know, man's greatest enemy, or success' greatest enemy, is not even Satan. Is your last accomplishment. Once you relax and said, you know, success is never ending. Once you relax and say, I have achieved it, you know. So for me, every moment is a moment for innovation, is a moment to address and include emerging issues. Are they magnifying glasses that are better than the one manufactured last year? That's our area of interest. I'll take, for instance, of course you were there in the hall when chairman, it was a joke, but they meant it. They said, okay, be the ambassador for FCT election. You know, I took that very seriously. As soon as I went back to my office, I called the rec. I said, I'm coming the next day to supervise all the materials in readiness for inclusive election. And the rec brought all the entire management was in the. So I took the chairman of FCT and other leaders, and we went. Say, okay, rec, promise us that this election will be inclusive of persons with disability, and it's not a lip service. We're saying, what provision do you have? And the man displayed on the table all the because I told chairman, I pleaded with him to please transfer all the material you have in the headquarters to FCT, so that they will not only implement, they will have the resources, the tools with which to implement. But I've got a step further. The institute trained the TOT, trained the trainers. Yes. So, of course, I won't have all the time to go and be training the SPOs and the APOs and all the electoral officials, which is important to me. So what we did was to train the trainers and handed over the presentation and everything they need for them to go back and train the SPOs and train the APOs. So that, you know, so one, resources in terms of electoral resources that will make for inclusive election. Number 2, the knowledge, the capacity building for those who will administer the election. 3, the meeting and the advocacy with people who make decision on what happens. And that's where the rec, the operations manager, the administrator, every one of them was in the room when we came. And they gave us assurance, double sure, that this FCT area council election will be inclusive. Now, beside that, I'm joining the rec to go around to ensure that whatever they said in terms of inclusivity, they will do it. We're deploying to every area council, Arbino Foundation. We don't even have the funds, but I'm willing to bend backward wherever I can to deploy people to go and truly look out for inclusivity component in the entire election. And then we come back and write our report. Now, the good news is when REC told me that, oh, there is no person with disability contesting. But I can tell you that we've been able to discover that there's one person with disability, although the reason why the REC didn't know is that he did not capture his disability in his form. He just gave his name. Oh, okay. So they didn't know he has disability. But there is a guy who is contesting in Karo, who is a person with disability.
For councillorship?
No, I think it's councillorship, yes.
Okay.
Councillorship.
Karo. Okay. Okay. So let's look at preparations for 2023. You've talked us through preparation for FCT area council election, for inclusivity, and I don't know, what are you doing to support the only aspirant only candidate in Karo? Is there any mentorship or support you are giving?
Incidentally, I didn't know him. I think David is doing that. David Daniele.
Okay. CCD.
Yes. Yes. He's doing that. So I don't bother. We will try and reach out.
Okay.
You know.
So the preparations for 2023. Talk us through that.
All right. Well, for 2023, we're doing a number of things. We are going to roll out what we call election hub.
Election
hub for PWD.
Interesting.
It's electronically driven. It will be the first of its kind. It's an app, but an app that is like a TV station.
Interesting.
You'll be able to. You have forced me to let this out of the bag, but it's okay. You'll be able to give us on-the-spot assessment of inclusivity in any given polling unit, live, with
176,000 polling units across the country?
We may not deploy to all of them, but literally, we are likely to deploy to more than half.
Okay.
And it's both data and motion. So we are getting data because the person can also send messages and all that, but we're getting HD 4K quality delivery of as if you're watching it on TV. So if we're saying that there is no accessibility to a polling booth or a polling box, yeah, you just point the camera to it and say, oh, here is it. There's no accessibility. You know, a result is transmitted right there and then. He can get us the information and send it across. You know, so it's a fully loaded, interactive interface that delivers on time, real data issue. And then, of course, visualization. We're going to create a visualization dashboard of what is going on in every. So the implication is that once you are watching, maybe on your phone or on our platform, we have a giant screen. Once you touch any aspect, it can pull out immediately and tell you 20 persons with disability has voted. In this polling unit, there are 220 has voted. 100 has voted. Real-time information is like an eyewitness.
Let me ask, what kind of collaborations are you having with DPOs, disability person organizations? Like you mentioned CCD, Center for Citizens with Disability. There is Inclusive Friends Association. There is also JONAP, which is the umbrella organization. So what kind of interface and synergy exists between the Arbino Foundation and these other DPOs?
We are great partners. Grace is always with me, and I'm always with her. Lois.
Lois.
Alta. Okay. David is in Lagos. Of course, he's a member of the EU family. Okay. Right now, through our British Council Art project, we are mentoring 30 organizations of persons with disability. 30 of them.
Interesting.
Yes, and giving them access. I've had courtesy visit with them, even with British Council, where I told them to give them the same grant that we have. And of course, building their capacity to be able to advocate, building their capacity to be able to write simple proposals to get a grant. Also, we are hands-on on helping them establish systems, accounting systems. You know, we came out with we unbundled our policy and came out with 7 various policies: sexual harassment, human resource, employee handbook. You know, 7 of them. I can send them to you. We have sent them round so that they can also, but also make sure that, listen, you don't need to copy this. Just glean through it and then create your own original policy. So it's something that we're doing. I can tell you that many development partners have adjudged that set of policy as the best. As a matter of fact, the EU ambassador, you know, was endorsing the sexual harassment and gender and
and it's very interesting, Jake, that you are taking this beyond elections. You are taking it into other aspects of challenges that persons with disability face. Can you also talk about your collaboration with the Commission for PWD, the one led by Honorable James Lalu?
Fantastic gentleman. James is a leader par excellence and a young man that I believe in. Yes, we are looking at some of the challenges of the Commission, and through some of our intervention, especially within the EU, we're going to be providing some very, very interesting intervention. Something that will make him happy and make him more effective and efficient.
That's interesting.
Yes, we are. We're going beyond that. Well, you have a way of pulling things out of me. We're looking at the National Assembly. There are some innovations that we're going to be introducing.
Interesting.
That will serve the community better. We are looking at state assemblies and see how we can replicate some of the things that is happening at the national level at the state assembly. Some of them are in the works. That's why I'm not being
interesting. So you seem to have a very tall ambition about taking the community of persons with disability to the next level. And I pray that God will continue to strengthen you and give you the grace to achieve all of these noble desires. So your mentorship program, I'm very interested in that. How do you?
Surprisingly, have I not invited you? You have not spoken on the platform.
No.
Oh,
I'm just
Samson has.
I'm curious about how do you identify your mentees for all of this program? Who recommends them? And how could those who are watching us, who belong to the community of persons with disability, how can they benefit from this kind of thing?
Well, we have a platform. There's a project I have called Electability. Electability.
Yes, electability.
Yeah, electability. It is on that platform that I have this mentorship project. Incidentally, I've not been able to do it this year, but
the year is still young, unless you are talking about 2020.
Yeah, I was doing a monthly interface with them, and what I do is I bring, for instance, I brought the EU ambassador, the former EU ambassador, and I brought a politician, and I brought a development person. So it's always mixed. You have somebody who will give us the international perspective of political participation. Then you have somebody who is a practicing politician who will give us hindsight. And then you have a CSO person who will tell you things about funding and building consensus and being able to build a social capital and all that. You know, that's the whole thing. And then I come in to teach specifically on political leadership. You know, so we do that virtually, but now I've been able to work it into a project, and so it can be funded. So we will have these meetings physically and virtually, and also part of our mentorship project is our internship project. For the first time, you're going to be seeing persons with disability as intern in both National Assembly and the State Assembly.
Interesting.
You know. And we're also interested in policies and frameworks. It just dawned on me, just like I'm sure you know, that Arbino Foundation was the first to recognize that there were gaps in the electoral bill, you know, and with the help of Samson and a couple of other friends, we put together a team that went through that whole bill, pointed out the gaps, and we made a very strong presentation. One of the most effective presentation. It was a 4-person presentation within 5 minutes. And we had a standing ovation.
Interesting.
Yeah, I went first, Grace came, Dan Lamy, I think one other person, and we rounded up, and we maintained 5 minutes. And that's why today the current bill, Section 54, subsection 2, have repealed INEC may and replaced it with INEC shall.
Sure. Which brings us to the issue of inclusivity. We have the National Disability Act, which was signed into law on January 23, 2019. And now the president has gone further to establish the commission. But there are sections of that act that gave 5-year timeline for certain restructuring, issue of 5% recruitment of persons with disability and all of that. So how are you following through with all of this implementation? I know the ones that could be done by the commission, some of them are already in the works under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management. And so the DPOs, Disability Persons Organizations, how are you keen into the implementation of this National Disability Act? I know I'm asking this against the background of this will be, I'm glad about the news about this Section 56 that have been altered, which now gave INEC a matching order.
Yes.
That it has to,
shall,
not
yes,
that
mandate.
It may, it shall. And it's now Section 54 in the new. So how much of collaborations are you having to ensure adequate and prompt implementation of the National Disability Act?
Okay, you know, Jide, I like to work strategically. I have a 3-tier approach to, one is advocacy for awareness of the act, which is needed.
Exactly.
The community doesn't know much about it. Even those that will implement it doesn't know much about it. The second is implementation. The third is a review and evaluation so that we know what to remove and what to add when we are reviewing the act. And so what we've done, we have taken the act and simplified all the clauses.
Interesting.
Every Monday on WeFM, we have a radio show that addresses clause by clause issues within the Disability Act. Now we're going a step further we're going to translate the ads into 3 languages. Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. I was in Sokoto. They were addressing me in Hausa language. Of course, I didn't hear nothing. All right. So I just said, okay, well, do you know about the ads? No. Baturenchi. So we want to break it down so that an Igbo man will understand it in his own language.
But what about the Opobo man? How will the Jaws and the people in the minorities?
Most of those people actually, they can do the simple English. Maybe you're inspiring me now to also think pidgin.
Yeah, you need to think pidgin for the wider.
Now, for my community, we're doing the audio that we're going to put on the online and on the internet and send it to their phones. We have their phone numbers. We're doing the clips, the TV clips with a sign language interpreter.
Wow.
You know, so that everyone will. Let me also say something that will interest you. If you go to our new website, we migrated to the albinismfoundation.org.
Okay.
I didn't want to talk about this until we are ready. Now we are ready. We've gone to automate and customize our website.
Interesting.
And it became it's live. You can
the albinism.org.
Yeah, the albinismfoundation.org.
The albinismfoundation.org.
Yeah.
So
if you're visually impaired, like I am, like several other people, just go there, click a button, and everything on that website is large print. Click a button, and everything on that website is on audio. You know, so we are making our website disability friendly
and very interactive.
Yes, very interactive. You can talk to yourselves. You can do WhatsApp on it. You can post on Facebook. You can send us a message, and we reply immediately. You know, so it's very interactive. The interface is simple. Last night I was telling the IT manager to further bring like an instruction how anyone can navigate this thing. We're also introducing electronic braille on the site. Now, when we are done, guess the first organization that I'm going to go, and it's already in the works. You know, I already have almost the approval to do it. INEC. When I'm done with INEC, I'm going to Aso Rock, the presidency. Some development partners have already alerted them that, look, your website is not disability friendly. You know, so we should be able to offer some things for free, or guide their IT department for them to be able to do it. Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. This is very heartwarming news I'm receiving. So let's look at this aspect of knowledge about albinism. Walk us through what actually is responsible. There was a time you have a pact with the National Hospital for person who have skin cancer to get free treatment. Is that still being sustained?
No. In fact, a few days ago, about a week now, I had a meeting with the Minister for Health for State, Mamura.
Senator Lauren Mamura.
Excellent gentleman. You know, there are 2 ministers, 3 ministers in this cabinet, 4. I can count 4 now. You know, that I call them, they pick up. They say, Jake, I'll call you back. They will call back. You know, Mamura and I, we are very good friends. And when I called him and said, look, there's a problem with skin cancer issue and all that, he said, look, I'm in Lagos. This was Sunday evening. When I come into Abuja on Monday, I'll call you. And I was shocked. By 3 p.m., he had called me for a 5 o'clock meeting. You know, I mean, the Minister for Information, Lai Mohammed, does that with me. The Minister for Women Affairs, that one is my, like,
excellent woman.
Excellent woman. You know, so I have spoken to him. We have written. We're following through to see how we can revive that. Don't forget that I'm a skin cancer survivor myself.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Did I? Yes, I did.
You survived so many things. You also survived COVID-19.
I did.
You're a cat with 9 lives. You're a cat with 9 lives.
I had the one of the worst skin cancers. It's called squamous cell carcinoma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I survived it. But you asked an interesting question. You know, people have made this mistake. Even I confronted one time a dermatologist, you know, who also have this wrong impression. For a person with albinism, there is no absence of melanin.
Oh.
No.
Interesting.
No.
So what's actually the cause of albinism?
We lack adequate melanin. Okay. Now the implication is that melanin, you see why I make this statement boldly. Melanin is responsible for coloration in every part of your body, inside, outside. It's responsible for coloration. Melanin is responsible for the color of your blood, for the color of your lungs, color of your intestine, color of your skin, how your eyes works. Is all. You see, that's the amazing creation of God. You know, one thing. So for a person with albinism, we don't have it in adequate measure.
Sufficient quantity.
Exactly. So because we don't, we have a bit of it on our skin, so it's not enough to give us a black color. You know, a bit of it on our hair is not enough to give us a black color. A bit of it in our eyes is not enough to form our retinas properly. So when that, when you experience that as an individual, you are what is referred to as oculocutaneous albinism, or person with albinism. Oculocutaneous is two compound words: ocular, eyes, cutaneous, skin condition. Now, when because many people do have albinism, and either they don't know it or the society don't know it. They are the people that have a bit of more melanin on their skin. So you see that either they are brownish, or they are very fair. Then because they have a bit of it, their hair is black, okay, and their eyes don't rout that much, but they still have that presence of routing eye. They are referred to as ocular albinism, ocular person with albinism. You know, so that's what it is. It's not a curse. It's not a mistake by God. It's not something anybody will have to regret. I live my life every day thanking God that He made me a person with albinism. No.
There was a time you said you wish you had a child that has albinism.
Yeah, exactly. I've still said that.
You did have
I'm actually looking for one to adopt.
Anyway, there will be several others several people who want to.
Oh, yeah.
But let's look at this, Jake. Issue of albinism and superstition across Africa continent. Is it true? And I'm putting it to you that a person with albinism should not take salt.
No.
Is it true that a person with albinism doesn't see during the day? They only see at night.
No.
All of this.
No.
I mean, there is a lot of misinformation out there.
Well, we have a book called Core Messages, Frequently Asked Questions on Albinism. We looked at 50 questions that people ask about persons with albinism. And we presented the truth. The thing about debunking lies or conspiracy, the only thing that debunks lies is true. Tell the truth. Put out the true information. It will suffocate and debunk lies. Salt has nothing to do with anything that is as a challenge to us. In fact, not even taking salt, is a problem itself. You can become deficient.
Say you should not take salt if you are not being.
They told me that. and my parents practiced it for several times. It has nothing to do with albinism. It has nothing. It's a myth. It's a myth. Now, the question you ask about seeing at night, we are as blind as a bat in the day, in the night.
Wow.
Yeah, we are. We are. Because what helps you to even see a bit is the light. Now, remember how many times we are friends. We've been friends for years. Remember how many times I've seen you, I didn't recognize you. You didn't know.
That's true.
And then you had to come and say, Jake, Ojo, Jide Ojo. Yeah, that's the problem, because we are not able to articulate everything on your face. So what we rely on is voice.
Okay.
So the moment you say Jide, Oga Jide, now, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, Samson, my friend, I've passed Samson several times. Samson will always stop by to introduce himself. Yeah. So we don't. It's a myth. We don't.
And how has this affected the members of the community? I've learned some have committed suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Some have also been used for rituals, whether money ritual.
I was in Tanzania. I've been to Tanzania twice.
Wow.
I was in Kenya. I was in South Africa. All for this albinism advocacy. Yes, in Kenya and even in Nigeria, there's been cases of ritual practices on persons with albinism. Makurdi, for instance. Delta, it has happened. Kwara State, it has happened. These are documented evidence of some of this ritual killing. But it's not as rampant as it is in places like East Africa. Tanzania is the worst when it comes to issues like this. So definitely there are those issues, but we're dealing with them one after the other.
Okay. It's very heartwarming that God is using you to shine the light on the path of persons with disability, and so you've gotten a lot of support from the donor community. How much of fulfillment does that give you as somebody who is a torchbearer, a pace setter in improving the lives of persons with disability?
Well, I think I'll put it in context. When you say support, many of them are not financial support.
Okay.
They are a huge moral support capital that we have. I was shocked last year when the French and German government picked me and chose me as the human rights defender for 2021.
Wow.
Yes. You were not aware of that.
I wasn't aware. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I will accuse you of sidelining me, but no, it's all right. Is your program on Radio Nigeria still running?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I've featured a couple of times.
Yeah, we are even going 1 hour now.
Oh, great.
When you came, you are a superstar.
So
they were calling even when you left. But we are going 1 hour now.
That's great.
Yeah, we're going 1 hour now. We wanted to even venture into television. We've done the pilot, but for funds. But
we are available for sponsorship. If you want us to have a segment for you on this show, it's open for sponsorship and advert placement, so we can do business together with the management of.
We will look at it. We will look at it. Jide, I'm interested in structured platform that will sort of bring up issues like I had with the FRCN. We had this disability inclusion dialogue.
Yeah.
And it was both on TV, radio, it was nationally covered. Or institutions like ITV and all that, we can come up with a thematic focus.
Exactly.
and then go out there to look for sponsorship. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to do now in terms of media advocacy. What can we do together? I'm approaching some media houses on access to justice. By the way, we are making incursion into the tribunals. We are now asking the Court of Appeal, the president who is saddled with the responsibility of setting up the tribunal, how inclusive are those tribunals? Are there judges with disability? Can we find them in that tribunal? Can we be given the opportunity through NJI to train every member of the tribunal to be inclusive, aware, so that you never can tell a person with disability, because we're also looking at how to criminalize issues like if they go to vote and maybe the security operative didn't allow them to vote, or people mocked them and that's discrimination.
Yes.
How can they get sort of redress? So there's a whole lot to be done as we look forward to 2023. I will not be surprised if many members of the community comes out to be elected. We actually have a project that is focusing on electability.
I can only wish you the best of luck, J.K. Pele. I need to release you now for your other engagement. I've dragged you beyond the initially agreed time, but it's been very fascinating discussing persons with disability with you. You live, you dream. Everything you do is about having better life for persons with disability, even though your primary focus is persons with albinism. But you have scaled up that to be inclusive of persons with disability as a community. I want to thank you especially for honoring this invite at a very short notice. I wish you all the best and look forward to further collaboration with you as the year goes by.
Life is a seed. You do it for us too.
Anyway, viewers, that will be the size of our first discussion segment. I'll be back in a bit for second and conclusive segment of Development Focus with Jide Ojo on ITV.